Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're tackling something I think we can all relate to. Stress. And, we're aiming to give you practical advice, not just the theory, like a cheat sheet for a calmer, happier you. Sound good.
Yeah, I love that idea. A cheat sheet for stress.
And to make this deep dive extra helpful, we've gone through a ton of research papers and wellness guides.
Oh yeah, we did our homework for this one.
We even looked into some stuff about Hãy LIKE and Cactusian.
Which, by the way, is Vietnamese for stress management and relaxation techniques, just in case anyone was wondering.
Exactly. But it's sometimes even thinking about stress can be stressful.
Oh, absolutely. It's like a meta-stress situation.
But fear not, dear listeners, because today's deep dive is going to be a calming, empowering experience.
We're going to break it all down, make it super easy to understand, and even easier to apply to your own life.
So first things first, what is stress, really? I mean, we throw that word around all the time.
Right. It's become such a common term.
But what's actually going on in our bodies and minds when we feel stressed?
Well, it's not just a feeling, right? Stress is a full body response.
Okay, so it's more than just me feeling overwhelmed.
Definitely. It's a physiological response to demanding situations.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Break it down for us.
Basically, your body goes through these physical, mental, and emotional changes. Like your heart rate might increase, you might start sweating, your muscles tense up, and mentally, you might find it hard to concentrate or make decisions.
It's like your whole system goes into overdrive.
Exactly. And it's all designed to help you cope with the situation at hand.
So it sounds like stress is actually a good thing.
Well, it can be in small doses. Think of it like this. Imagine you're facing a deadline. That little bit of pressure, that stress, can actually sharpen your focus and make you more productive.
So it's like a good stress, bad stress situation.
Exactly. There's a really cool concept called the Yerkes-Dodson law that explains this perfectly. It shows that we need a certain level of stress for optimal performance.
Like we need a little bit of pressure to perform at our best.
Right. Think about athletes, for example. They need that edge of pressure to compete at their best. Too little stress, and they might lack motivation. Too much, and they could choke under pressure.
So it's about finding that sweet spot, that Goldilocks zone of stress where we're challenged but not completely overwhelmed.
Exactly. But of course, too much stress can be detrimental. That's why it's so important to be able to recognize your own stress signals.
That's a great point. How do we know when we're pushing it too far?
Well, it starts with paying attention to how you're feeling, both physically and emotionally.
Like when I get super irritable and my sleep goes haywire? Those are pretty clear signs.
Those are definitely classic emotional signals. And don't forget about the physical ones, too.
Oh, right.
Our sources highlighted things like muscle tension, headaches, even digestive issues. It's like your body is waving a little red flag saying, hey, pay attention here.
So true. It's like we ignore those little red flags at our peril.
Right. And if we ignore those signals for too long, things can escalate quickly.
I can definitely relate to that. I've had my fair share of stress-induced headaches. Okay, so we know stress can be good in small doses, but too much is a problem. And we've got some clues on how to spot those signs.
Yeah, we're starting to build our stress awareness.
But how do we even know what's triggering those stress responses in the first place? I mean, what stresses me out might not even faze you.
Exactly. That's why it's so crucial to identify your personal stressors. It's like detective work, figuring out what pushes your buttons.
Oh, interesting. So it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing.
Absolutely not. And you know what's really interesting? Even positive events can be stressful. Think about getting a promotion, planning a wedding, even graduating.
Wait, good things can be stressful too.
Yeah. These are all happy milestones, but they also come with a lot of change and adjustment.
I guess our bodies don't really discriminate between good stress and bad stress.
Right. Change is change, and it can throw us off balance.
Wow, that's a really good point. I never thought about it that way. So how do we figure out what our own personal stressors are?
Well, self-reflection is key.
Okay, so just taking some time to think about what consistently triggers those stress responses in us.
Exactly. What are the things that really get to you? Once you know what you're dealing with, then you can start building a stress management strategy that actually works for you.
I love that. So we've covered what stress is, how to spot it, and how to figure out what triggers it. We're building a foundation here.
We are. And next, we'll move on to the practical stuff, like specific strategies and techniques you can use to manage stress effectively and find more peace in your daily life.
Okay, so we've laid the groundwork, right? We get what stress is, how to recognize it in ourselves, and even how to pinpoint those sneaky triggers.
Yeah, we've got a good understanding of the problem now.
Exactly. So now let's get to the good stuff, the solutions. How do we actually manage this stress? What's the toolkit look like?
I think the first thing we need to add to that toolkit is, well, permission to relax.
Permission to relax. That's an interesting one. Tell me more about that.
Well, think about it. So many of us feel guilty about taking time for ourselves, right? Like we should always be doing something productive. But our sources, they really emphasize that downtime is not unproductive. It's like essential for managing stress effectively.
Okay, so you're not saying we should ditch all responsibilities and just chill on a beach all day?
Haha. No, not exactly. Although that does sound pretty relaxing, doesn't it?
It does.
Oh.
But realistically, we've got stuff to do.
Right, we do. But it's about finding those little pockets of relaxation, incorporating them into our daily routine. Even just 15 minutes a day can make a huge difference.
15 minutes. Okay, yeah, I can definitely commit to that.
Exactly. And during that time, do something you genuinely enjoy, something that helps you unwind.
Okay, so we've got permission to relax. We're scheduling it in. What else should we be thinking about?
Well, our sources really highlight the importance of physical health. Things like, regular exercise, healthy food,
Yeah.
getting enough sleep.
Yeah, I mean, those are good habits in general, right?
Absolutely. But they're also your secret weapons in the fight against stress. They're like stress-busting superpowers.
It's funny how much better I feel when I actually prioritize those things, but honestly, it's usually the first to go when I'm feeling overwhelmed. Like, who has time for a workout when you're drowning in to-dos?
I totally get that. And that's exactly why it's so important to make it a routine. Build those healthy habits in so they become non-negotiable.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess even just a quick walk can make a difference, right?
Absolutely. Even moderate exercise can have a huge impact on stress levels.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be a crazy intense workout. Just getting your body moving, getting some fresh air, it can really shift your mood.
Okay, I'm sold on that.
Yeah.
So we've got permission to relax. We're moving our bodies. What else can we do to build up that stress management toolkit?
Okay, so we've covered the physical. Let's move to the mental. Setting realistic goals, prioritizing tasks, breaking down big projects into smaller chunks. Those can make a world of difference.
It's like decluttering your to-do list, which in turn declutters your mind. Although sometimes even my to-do list stresses me out.
I hear you. It's finding a system that works for you. Whether it's a physical list, an app, whatever helps you stay organized without feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah, organization is key for sure. But what about those moments when you feel that wave of anxiety washing over you? What can you do in those moments to calm things down?
That's where those specific relaxation techniques come in. Our sources went into a bunch of techniques that have been shown to reduce stress hormones and promote that sense of calm.
Oh, this is what I've been waiting for. Spill the beans. What are some of those techniques?
Okay, so one that's really popular and super effective is diaphragmatic breathing.
Diaphragmatic breathing. Okay, break that down for me.
Basically, it's breathing deeply from your diaphragm, not just your chest. It sounds simple, but it can really help calm your nervous system.
I've heard about that. It's like hitting the reset button on your whole body.
Exactly. There's also guided imagery, which is kind of like a mini vacation for your mind.
Ooh, a mental vacation. Sounds right up my alley.
Yeah. You use your imagination to create this peaceful, relaxing scene. It can be anything. A beach, a forest, wherever feels most calming to you.
I'm liking this already. So we've got breathing techniques, mental vacations, anything else?
Oh, yeah, tons. There's progressive muscle relaxation, where you tense and relax different muscle groups in your body. It helps you become more aware of where you're holding tension and learn to let it go.
That's so important. Sometimes I don't even realize how tense I am until I consciously try to relax.
And then, of course, there's meditation.
Ah, yes, meditation. It's everywhere these days. Is it really that helpful?
It really is. It's been practiced for centuries, and there's a reason for that. Research shows that regular meditation can reduce anxiety, improve sleep, even boost your immune system.
I've got to be honest, though, meditation always seemed kind of intimidating to me.
I get that. A lot of people feel that way. But there are so many different types of meditation. Mindfulness meditation, loving kindness meditation, transcendental meditation. There's something for everyone.
So it's not all about sitting in complete silence and emptying your mind.
Not necessarily. It's more about observing your thoughts without judgment, letting them come and go like clouds passing by.
Ah, okay, that makes a lot more sense. My mind definitely feels like a runaway train sometimes.
Right. And meditation can help you train your mind to be more present, more focused, and ultimately more at ease.
Wow, okay, this toolkit is getting pretty packed.
Yeah,
But, with so many options, it can also feel a bit overwhelming. Like, where do you even start?
that's a great point. And this is where it's so important to remember that there's no one-size-fits-all approach. What works for one person might not work for another.
So it's all about experimenting,
Hmm.
finding what works for you.
Exactly. Listen to your body. Pay attention to what helps you feel most relaxed and centered. Don't be afraid to try different things and see what sticks. Maybe a combination of techniques will be your magic formula.
I like that, creating your own personalized stress relief playlist.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that managing stress is an ongoing process. It's not about achieving some magical state of zero stress and staying there forever.
So it's not a destination, it's a journey.
Precisely. It's about building resilience, developing healthy coping mechanisms, and also knowing when to reach out for support.
That's so important. And speaking of support, our sources also talked about how crucial it is to, reach out to a therapist or a counselor, or even just a trusted friend when things feel overwhelming.
I couldn't agree more. Sometimes just sharing your burdens with someone who cares can make all the difference in the world. It's a reminder that you're not alone in this.
That's a really good reminder. So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I'm curious, what's resonating with you, dear listener? What's grabbing your attention? What are you thinking about trying? It's just really amazing how many different tools and techniques are out there to help us manage stress. We've talked about so much already. Recognizing those stress signals, identifying our own triggers, prioritizing both our physical and mental health, and then all those awesome relaxation techniques. I feel like I'm walking away with a whole arsenal of stress-busting weapons.
I love that. An arsenal of stress-busting weapons. And one of the most powerful weapons in that arsenal is, well, self-care.
Self-care. It's such a buzzword these days, but I think it's often misunderstood. So in the context of managing stress, what does self-care really mean?
To me, it's about consciously choosing to nourish your mind, body, and spirit. It's about making your well-being a priority. And not as an indulgence, but as a, essential part of a healthy and balanced life.
So it's not selfish to take care of ourselves.
Wow. No, not at all. In fact, it's quite the opposite. When we take care of ourselves, we're actually better equipped to take care of others and to handle all those curveballs that life throws our way.
That makes sense. It's like the classic airplane oxygen mask analogy. You have to put your own mask on first before you can help anyone else. You can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly. And the best part is self-care doesn't have to be complicated or expensive. It's really about finding those small, everyday activities that bring you joy, those things that help you relax and recharge.
So what are some examples of self-care activities that can help us manage stress?
Well, it really depends on what works for you, right? It could be something as simple as taking a warm bath, or reading a good book, spending time in nature, listening to your favorite music, connecting with loved ones, whatever makes you feel good.
It's about finding those little pockets of peace and rejuvenation throughout our day, activities that make us feel grounded and restored.
Exactly. And the beauty of self-care is that it's so personal. What works for me might not work for you, and that's okay. It's about discovering what truly nourishes you and then making time for it in your life.
I love that. It's about giving ourselves permission to put our well-being first, to do those things that make us feel good without guilt or apology.
One of the most powerful things I've learned about stress management is that it's often about shifting our perspective. It's not about eliminating stress altogether. I mean, that's just not realistic, but about changing how we relate to it.
That's interesting. So instead of seeing stress as the enemy, we can choose to see it as, I don't know, a signal, an opportunity for growth maybe.
Exactly. Stress can actually be a catalyst for positive change. It can help us identify areas where we need to, make adjustments, set boundaries, prioritize our well-being.
It's like stress is trying to get our attention, to nudge us in a direction that's ultimately better for us.
Right. It's like stress is a messenger, not a monster.
Wow, that's a great way to put it. So instead of fearing stress, we can learn to listen to it, to see what it's trying to tell us.
Exactly. And when we start to see stress in that light, it becomes a lot less scary and a lot more manageable.
I'm really feeling inspired by this whole conversation. We've learned so much about the nature of stress, how to recognize it, how to manage it, and now even how to reframe our relationship to it.
It's been a really amazing journey exploring this topic with you and with all our listeners.
I agree. And as we wrap up our deep dive on stress management today, I want to thank you, dear listeners, for joining us.
Yes, thank you for being here. And remember, you have the power to manage stress. You've got this.
Until next time. happy de-stressing.